Welcome, ladies and gents. Chris Andre here. You can find me at BetBoxing on Twitter, or of course you can subscribe to the channel. Let's talk boxing. Let's start off talking about Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte. Yes, he may have left it till the 11th hour, but it was never in doubt as far as I was concerned. Dillian Whyte has signed the contract to face Tyson Fury, something that I don't believe any realistic person would have expected not to happen. I know a lot of people were saying he's lost his pen, Chris Eubank Jr. style. There were others that were saying he's bottled it and all that. Don't be silly. He's been waiting for this fight for a very long time, and this is going to be a much harder fight than people assume, in my humble opinion. This is going to be a real barn burner. Now, Dillian Whyte is still AWOL. He's still not commented. He has spoken about wanting payment to attend press conferences. Now, I think there's two reasons for this. First and foremost, he's only getting paid a flat fee. He's not getting paid a cut of the pay-per-view, and we know he's unhappy with that flat fee and the percentage he's getting from the WBC. So as a result of that, he has no financial incentive to promote the fight. Regardless of whether the fight's massive or not, he will make the same amount of money. The same belts are on the line, the same legacy's on the line. So why would he go to various press conferences, give loads of different interviews, when so many fighters will often tell you that during big fight weeks, and not just fight weeks, during big fight camps, it's very, very tiring with the amount of media obligations that you have. Now, bear in mind, yes, we know he's been involved in a whole bunch of big fights and pay-per-view fights in the past and so on and so forth. But if he can sit there and dedicate 100% of his time to focusing on training, why wouldn't he? I don't really blame him. It's also a good psychological ploy because we know that Tyson Fury loves a psychological warfare. He loves an assault in that manner. And Dave Allen has actually said Dillian Whyte needs to stop trying to play mind games with Tyson Fury. I disagree with Dave Allen. He's, of course, a former sparring partner of Fury. He's always been highly impressed with him, and for good reason. Fury is a great heavyweight. Nonetheless, this idea that he's some immortal character, you can't think like that when you're an opponent. Why not play mind games with him? The very fact that he wants you in front of him, he wants you to have an exchange back and forth so he can mess with your emotions, that's precisely the reason you shouldn't give him that, perhaps. Especially if you're not equally as sharp with your gift of the gab. And listen, we all know that Dillian Whyte is a very entertaining character, a very emotional character. He's very funny. But he's not perhaps the most witty when it comes to retorts. So maybe it's a good thing that he's doing what he's doing. Let me know what you think about that. Moving on from that, Eddie Hearn, in an interview with IFL, said that they're very close to making Joshua Buatsi against the Spider, Craig Richards. This is going to be a brilliant fight, in my humble opinion. Craig Richards, of course, has shown he can box with Bivol. He showed a very good level in that fight. Yes, there was a clear winner, but he was able to hang with him. And so this is a step up, in my humble opinion, for Joshua Buatsi. We've often been speaking about the depth that we have in the light heavyweight division in this country. So it's one that I'm really happy to see, especially because a whole bunch of the other top light heavyweights are tied up at the moment. So this is a really good one for me. I'm enjoying that. Let me know how you think this particular fight will go. Moving on from that, Johnriel Casimero, the WBO bantamweight champion, is facing yet more serious issues as his turbulent time of it of late continues. He's been accused by a 17-year-old of touching her inappropriately while she slept in his hotel room on June the 7th, 2021. This is particularly problematic for him because 17-year-olds out in the Philippines are considered to be minors. So he's facing a whole bunch of issues at the moment. He was also due to fight Paul Butler back in December, and that fell through because he didn't turn up to the weigh-in, and it was later reported that it was because he was hospitalized with viral gastritis. So this is a guy that's faced a whole bunch of problems. There was the controversial decision over Guillermo Rigondeaux. You also had him willing to fight Nonito Donaire back in the summer, but there were problems there with regards to doping testing and stuff like that. So the turbulent existence of Casimero continues. Needless to say, these are just allegations and everybody is innocent until proven guilty, but they are very serious allegations, and obviously they can't just be swept under the carpet. And as a result, the stress and the controversy that surrounds Casimero continues. Moving on from that to a little bit of a funny one here. Oscar Valdez put out a little video of him enjoying a coffee, looking out at some beautiful views at 6:30 in the morning, and Shakur Stevenson tweeted him to say, "Hey champ, make sure your coffee is clean. We don't want the tea situation to happen all over again," mocking him about the failed drugs test that he blamed on an excessive amount of a specific tea. So the war of words have begun here. Some nice little mind games from Shakur Stevenson in the build up to what is hopefully their fight. Now I want to tell you another story. We're going to move away a little bit from sort of the mainstream news of boxing, and I want to tell you two very nice stories when it comes to the sport, because the sport gets a really bad rap in the mainstream press. This lovely young lady here is called Dimitra Sakadaki. She's a 20-year-old young woman from Crete in Greece who is a maths student at university. She finished university last Friday evening, decided she was going to go out for the evening and meet up a friend. So at 5:30, they meet up in the central market of Heraklion, a very safe place, very safe island, a very safe country in general. And they're walking around on the cobbled streets on their way to a cafe to have a coffee and have a little catch up. And at one point, Dimitra's friend gets a phone call and she excitedly picks up the call and starts to walk faster. So Dimitra just decided to hang back a little bit. Maybe her friend was talking to a guy or something like that. She didn't want to impede. So as she just hangs back a little bit, her friend walks on a little bit faster and a little bit of a gap opens up between them. Just a few feet, nothing major. And to Dimitra's horror, she sees a man in his 40s who decides that he wants to take her friend's handbag. He grabs her friend's handbag and he starts to basically attack her, starts to hit her. Now, Dimitra jumps into action and she decides she's going to try and save her friend, so she runs over to push this guy away, and for her troubles, he punches her in the face multiple times. He's given her a black eye. He's broken her nose. What this guy doesn't know after landing a couple of vicious blows is that Dimitra used to train in kickboxing for 4 years and boxing in the last couple of years. And she decided that she was going to stand and go blow for blow with this grown man. Well, he hit her, she hit him, there was pushing, there was jostling, and finally she landed a big left hook and knocked this man unconscious. As he started to come around, he tried to get up and flee, and she apprehended him again. She made sure he wasn't getting away. She made sure that he was going to be arrested, and the police turned up and took him where he belonged to be taken. The point is, we hear a lot of negatives about boxing. Well, this is a young woman who decided a number of years ago that she was going to teach herself martial arts, and she's managed to save her friend and herself from a vicious attacker. And this brings us on to another story when it comes to boxing. It was a woman in Australia, a young girl called Chloe. At 16 years old, Chloe decided that she was going to engage in something called chroming. This is essentially trying to get a little high from sniffing deodorant cans. Not too dissimilar to, say, glue sniffing. Chloe Rowe is her name, and unfortunately, it caused her to have a heart attack. And after going into cardiac arrest, the paramedics had to perform CPR on her for almost half an hour on site before she was rushed to hospital with a hypoxic brain injury. These are terrible, terrible scenes, as you can imagine, and you can see from that photo in the top right-hand side, that was her at the height of her suffering. And her mother, Sarah Nevins, wanted to raise awareness really for her daughter and for other children, really, because a lot of kids, they're impressionable. They want to give in to peer pressure. I know that I've got a few subscribers here that are younger, maybe not teenagers of 16, but I know that I've had a few that are 18, 19. And, peer pressure can be a powerful thing at any age for people, to be honest with you. But a lot of kids will seek cheap thrills, right? And it's really not worth it, as you can see here. But the good news is she did pull through. There were some life-changing injuries, unfortunately. But Michael Katsidis has been helping her get her life back on track. The former two-time interim lightweight champion of the world has been taking her on the pads and things like that. And we know that boxing can really help with coordination. And Katsidis is playing his part in that. We've seen it with Parkinson's patients as well. They've carried out a study in the past whereby they looked at patients that were taking on boxercise. Obviously, these guys aren't hitting each other. It's boxercise. They're hitting pads and moving and doing drills. And they found that they benefited greatly, not just mentally and emotionally, but physically too, in terms of their coordination. Of course, Parkinson's tragically is degenerative, and so it slows the decline or plateaus it rather than heals it. This is a different type of injury, so hopefully she can continue to build more motor neurons, and she's able to make as full recovery as possible. But shout out to Michael Katsidis doing a wonderful thing here. Like I said, boxing gets a really bad rap in the news, right? We always hear about, I don't know, some sort of boxer that's involved in some sort of behavior that might have been a crime, some thuggish behavior that will be splattered all over the front page news. You'll hear boxers that have tragically lost their lives in the ring and things like that. Well, these are a couple of stories whereby boxing has been able to change people's lives for the better. And I just wanted to leave you guys on a nice little note there. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you think about all the topics we've discussed today. Take care and God bless.